Warning: the following video contains explicit language which may be offensive to some viewers or inappropriate for children. The content within this video is intended for mature audiences only.
Are you ready? Hey everybody, it's Jeff. Hope everybody's doing okay today. It's cloudy here, but no rain. At least I haven't seen it rain. But it's supposed to be nicer even tomorrow. So things are nice out today. I mean, it's a little humid, but not very warm, so it's pretty good. So a lot of people still outside enjoying the weather we have here, at least today anyway. So the thing I wanted to talk about today was I heard on the radio people talking about this Memorial Day weekend, okay, and how travel is really not up to where it used to be, and it's a no-brainer as to why that is. Okay, if you've recently gone to fuel up your car, you were probably hit with a pretty high expense here. Which for a very few, it really won't matter. But for the rest of us who live paycheck to paycheck, it matters. Okay, it really does matter. And so we have this ongoing problem that just doesn't seem to want to go away. And I'm not sure if it's because of a lack of trying by the government, by whoever the powers that be that can do anything to influence this. Because despite what people think, the president really, in order to do anything as a president to help with gas prices, it requires you have to do something underhanded, okay, to get things to change, okay? It means you got to make some fucking nice little deal behind the scenes where nobody knows, okay, and then all of a sudden one day the price of gas has gone down, but you don't know what happened or how it got that way, okay? Maybe some gift was made to the oil industry, OPEC or somebody, in the form of monies or reduction in climate protection, whatever, you know what I'm saying, stuff that makes it easier for these motherfuckers to do their business, okay? So it always comes at a cost, and we don't find out about it probably ever. And so we have this problem where because we have a Democrat as a Democrat president really can't do much. But a Republican president, on the other hand, can get in there and cut any sweet fucking deal he wants because he don't give a shit. Okay, he's in the pocket of all the corporations in this country. So hey, ask me all you want, and I'll give it to you. And that's why it's easier for a Republican to do something about things like that than a Democrat. But even when we had George W. Bush, whose family is highly tied into the oil industry, gas prices were still high. Why? Because he wanted it that way for the oil companies. So you know what I'm saying? You have a problem here where really the president doesn't have a fucking say in anything doing with that. So why people complain to Biden about the price of gas being so high? You're pissing in the wind, okay? He can't do anything about that, okay? The only thing he could probably do, I guess, would be to open up every fucking reserve in our country to lower the price of gas. But you know what that's gonna lead to. The right wing having a fit, and how the oil companies are gonna get pissed about that. They'll launch a campaign to stop that. Okay. And even as we enjoy a lower price per gallon at the pump, it'll only last for a short time before all of a sudden it goes right back to the roof again. Okay. So there's only one other way to fix that problem: higher wages. Give people more fucking income per hour that they work in this country. Where it's at is not enough, obviously, because people are still bitching even after all the good reports coming out of the White House about more people working. Inflation might be coming down a little bit. The stock market's doing well. All that stuff sounds good on paper. Okay, but go out there and talk to people. Go on, you pound the fucking pavement and go out there and listen to what people are struggling with. It all boils down to not enough money. Okay, it all boils down to not enough money. And if there's any fucking issue that Republicans ought to be running on to even help get somebody elected, it ought to be, you know, people having to struggle with they're not getting enough money. You know, if Trump wants to lie to get into the White House, why doesn't he promise people, oh, raise your wages, $5 more an hour or something? That would be a guarantee win for him. Why doesn't the Democrat, you know, side do shit like that? Okay, because they know they can't do it. There's too much opposition to stop it. But hey, Republican doesn't have to honor his fucking promises, right? They get away with everything. You know, he can say one thing and then turn around and say, no, I didn't say that. No. You know, and the suckers will believe it. But if there's any way they want to make sure Trump wins, that's the way to do it. Promise people all the fucking money they're ever going to want if he gets in there. He'll push for a higher minimum wage. The national level, the bar would be raised all the way up. $10 an hour for just the basic job. Okay? Or maybe higher than that. You know, whatever the hell it is, you know. Dating myself here, but here the thing is that you can only approach this problem that way because the oil companies aren't going to do anything about it, right? I mean, if they gave two shits at all about helping people to get their oil, to get their product, they'd have reduced the price of gas. But we're never going to see anything below $3 a gallon ever again. Ever. It's never going to happen. The bar has already been raised and we don't even know it. From now on, the price per gallon is going to be way over $3 a gallon. Okay, they might knock a nickel here or a dime there off of the price per gallon, but it's never ever going to be low the way it was, say, 10 years ago or even further back. Okay, we're never going to see that again. And we all know the game that they play. Anytime some kind of problem erupts around the world, they use that as an excuse to keep jacking the prices up. Has absolutely nothing to do with oil, but because the shit's going on in Israel and that, they go say, oh, it's because of that. That war right there is causing us to raise our prices of gas. Okay. All right, so here's an article here from Politics from the Tampa Free Press. Let's see, published today. It's entitled, New York Representative AOC warns Trump will price gouge at the pump. New York Democratic Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez has cautioned that a potential victory for former President Donald Trump in the 2024 election could lead to energy companies engaging in price gouging at the gas pump. Ocasio-Cortez, a supporter of the Green New Deal, has expressed concerns that Trump's close ties with the oil industry could lead to policies favoring corporate interests over consumer welfare. However, one would have to ask why gas prices were so much lower under the Trump administration. Average annual gas price under Trump in 2017 was $2.53 per gallon. In 2018, it was $2.81 per gallon. In 2019, it was $2.69 per gallon, and in 2020, it was $2.26 per gallon. The average annual gas price under Biden, 2021, was $3.10 per gallon. In 2022, it was $4.06 per gallon, and in 2023, it was $3.47 per gallon. In 2024, to be determined later. AOC lamented Thursday ahead of the estimated 10,000 plus locals who showed up in the Bronx to hear Trump speak. During an appearance on Spectrum News, New York 1, Ocasio-Cortez addressed the possibility of Trump's planned rally in the Bronx, suggesting that a significant portion of the attendees may be, quote, out-of-towners, unquote, rather than local residents. Quote, I suspect there's going to be a lot of out-of-towners there, unquote, AOC said. Quote, and listen, we have a big, diverse city. I'm sure someone will be showing up supportive, unquote. She then delved into the economic implications of a Trump presidency, citing his recent meeting with oil executives as a potential harbinger of policies that could enable energy companies to raise gas prices without proper oversight or regulation. Quote, but even on the economic point, we just saw that the former president met with oil executives last week saying, hey, you give me $1 billion and I'll make sure that you get the policies that are favorable to raising gas prices and making sure that a lot of these companies continue to price gouge without proper oversight or regulation, unquote, Ocasio-Cortez said. Quote, and so the idea that we'd be bringing those down when he's cashing in for those same folks that are bringing those prices up, I think is a little bit suspect, unquote, she added. In response to Ocasio-Cortez's remarks, the Trump campaign has accused the Biden administration of being, quote, controlled by environmental extremists, unquote, who are attempting to implement the most, quote, radical energy agenda in history, unquote. Here we go again. Oh, in history. Okay. Caroline Leavitt, the national press secretary for the Trump campaign, has stated that President Trump is supported by individuals who share his vision of American energy dominance to protect national security and reduce the cost of living for all Americans. Democrats, including Ocasio-Cortez, have attributed the price increases to corporate collusion and greed, as well as other factors such as the Russia-Ukraine war. However, numerous energy analysts and experts have pointed to the Biden administration's climate agenda as a contributing factor, citing the administration's goals of decarbonizing the American power sector by 2030 and the overall U.S. economy by 2050. All right, now let's go back to that chart there that I read to you here about price per gallon. Now, you got to understand, in 2017, it was a lot cheaper to buy certain things, okay? And so price per gallon obviously was lower then. But even under Trump, things were going up incrementally, okay? Wages were not. And so the price per gallon was still, by 2020, was still considered high. Now, after the pandemic, okay, a lot of things, you know, the supply chain was wrecked, okay? There weren't as many people working. So yeah, then they would raise prices there. That's understandable, okay? It went up considerably. But again, if that was the case, why are they saying now the Ukraine-Russia war and the Israel and Hamas fight is contributing to the rising price of gas in this country? Okay, the market is flooded with oil. There is no shortage of oil to be had here. Okay, we got plenty of it. When Russia was sanctioned, okay, they weren't able to sell their oil. Okay, and like it or not, other countries were buying their oil, which explains why so many of them, their price per gallon went through the fucking roof, like in England, okay? Because they bought a lot of their oil from Russia. But when they sanctioned it, right, they shut that, you know, that bartering off, okay? You know, it didn't affect us so much because we weren't buying that kind of shit from them, okay? We weren't really dependent on them for oil. We're still getting it from OPEC, but we export more oil than we get, believe it or not. We do. We export more oil to other countries than we get, which probably in itself is making us pay more because we're keeping less. Reel that back in. You know, that's one step you could do to bring down the price per gallon, okay? But then that would force, you know, when I'm saying, you know, other countries to raise their prices on them, okay? Which, you know, the point is that it doesn't need to be where it is, okay? It doesn't have to be this. And analysts have already reported that there's enough oil in this country to keep prices way down below $3 a gallon. Okay, it doesn't have to be this high, because our market is filled with oil. We got so much of it, we can't even burn enough of it. We got so much of it. Okay, and the idea that Trump's out there saying drill baby drill, okay, you know, he's an idiot. He's trying to make people think that we ain't drilling for oil. Christ, we got oil wells everywhere. You know, Christ, I mean, we got so many capped wells in this country. I mean, we're not even taking that shit that's out of the ground. That's just capped and reserved. For when? You know, for troubling times. Well, here's some troubling times. Time to uncap those fucking wells. I mean, Jesus. But no, they don't want to touch that because people invest on that, what's in the ground still. Okay, they buy and sell that like real estate. They don't use it because it's more valuable in the ground than it is being pumped out of it. Okay, that's why they won't tap that shit. But yeah, Trump, yeah, he did go out and make deals already with oil companies to help get him elected. All right, give me $1 billion and you'll have an easy time of it. You can raise your prices as high as you want. Okay, so you know, whatever they were trying to say under Trump, you know, prices with this, he will negate that, because under Biden, we'll be looking back saying under Biden the prices were lower when they're actually high. Because when Trump gets in there again, if he wins, the prices will be way over $3.47 a gallon. It'll be up into the $5 area. Okay, that's what I'm talking about. So we'll be looking back at the Biden years as, geez, I wish we, you know. But here's the thing: you combat that by raising wages to match the prices. That's what you do. Okay, yeah, it sparks inflation. Well, guess what? You know, unless you want to stop inflation, you stop raising your fucking prices. Because the higher they are, the more people are going to want from their jobs. And if the jobs aren't going to give them the money, then hey, fuck you. You know, you know, there's no reason in the world why a person should be working at Walmart and still collecting food stamps. For all those people out there who hate paying taxes and hate having a big overblown government, why aren't you out there screaming about higher wages? Because that would stop tax increase on you and stop your state or your government, you know, the federal government, from issuing out checks to help people get through the fucking the problems like they were doing during the pandemic. You guys didn't like any of that, right? But you took your check anyway. But you say you didn't like any of that. You didn't like those checks being issued. You know, $300 here, $800 there, $1,000 here. You know, you didn't like that. You're saying, I'm paying for that. That's my tax money. You know, well, hey, you guys you can solve that problem from happening again right there by raising wages. Okay? Then the people won't have to go crying to the government when they fall on hard times. You know, think about this for a minute. For the small businesses out there, you people are going to suffer the most over this, because when high gas prices are up there like they are now, people aren't going to be traveling to come shop in your store. You know, unless you're very local. But for, let's say, people who travel during the summer months, you know, on vacationing and stuff, these people won't travel as far. They won't come to your store. You know, they won't buy your stuff. Your gift shops and all that stuff. People won't be there because they can't afford to pay. You know, because in each state, the gas prices vary. You know, it's in California, it's like twice what it is here. And so, you know, people won't go to these places where the gas prices are very high, and they'll stick closer to home, which means a lot of small businesses out there won't make very good money this year. You know, see, it trickles down. You know, everybody loses in the end. But if you make wages go up higher for people working in, you know, when not like in small businesses, but you know, when you got people working in a fucking industry like Walmart, Christ, where they can afford it, there's no reason why people should be working there and still qualify for food stamps. That means they're not making enough money. The state is telling these people, this person is not making enough money in your store, so we have to give him food stamps. Okay, I can't think of a bigger insult for the guy that runs Walmart to hear that about his stores and, you know, and what their employees are getting, or lack of. Okay, there's no point in that. okay? And the fact that people have to work 2, 3, even 4 jobs sometimes just to make enough money to pay their bills every month, well, they're left with nothing to go and enjoy the summer with, right? To go and spend. If people can't spend, the economy comes to a stop. Now, right now, everybody's saying the economy is booming. Well, that's people buying stock, their own stock back, okay? That's what's driving, you know, Wall Street right now. It's people who have money buying their own stock back and reselling it at a higher price, and everybody's buying each other's shit, okay? But that's artificially inflating the stock market. I don't believe that for a minute, that the stock market is an actual representation of how good the economy is doing in this country right now. It's too soon after the damage has been done. Yeah, I mean, Biden passed some things to get new jobs created, like factories and stuff, but hey, that takes time. That takes time to get that going. Those factories aren't even running yet. Okay, the thing is that it takes you know, a couple of years before you start to notice that, oh, now their economic levels are better. You know, people are making more money. The local economy is doing much better. Okay, we can't gauge that right now. It's too soon after the fact. And so the same thing, like I said about the wages, they have to be raised now for everything, not just for people that work in electronic factories or whatever they're working in. It's got to be raised for everybody. The standard has to come up. It's needed to come up for a long time. People should be making like $25 an hour at just a regular job, like working as a janitor in a store somewhere. I mean, that's really where the wages should be to meet the cost of living demands in this country. It's too the separation between pay and expense is too fucking wide. All right, and the price of gas is not helping. Okay, so to help that, the price of gas has got to go back below $2, not too low, but you know, back to where it was when Trump was president. Okay, before the shit hit the fan after the pandemic. It has to go back there. We got to reset everything back to that era, okay, and start there, because the pandemic was an aberration, okay? It was something that doesn't happen all the time, and it knocked our economy out of whack, okay? So we have to force a reset to the economy to go back to the 2017 era and start over, because right now, the way it is, the prices have inflated so high because of the damn pandemic that it's become untenable for people to be able to survive, you know, without struggling to make ends meet. Let's have a commercial break here.
This is me.
This is me.
This is me!
This is me.
I'm Alex Curtis. I'm a lobsterman in Maine, and this is me.
I'm Ruth McLaughlin, and this is me.
I'm Eric Hopkins. I'm an artist, and this is me.
This is me.
Me.
This is me.
This is me.
This is me.
At the end of the journey, the main thing is you, original.
a part of the entertainment value of a lifetime.
I loved it.
It was the best performance I've seen in a lifetime.
I loved the show. I liked it very much. He's a very entertaining man. It's well worth the money.
Now appearing in Charlottetown, coming to Halifax November 6th to the 18th, and St. John November 20th through the 26th.
Okay, welcome back everybody. Now, to continue on this topic here of the high gas prices, 3 days ago, a story here from CNBC was published saying that Biden was going to release 1 million barrels of gasoline to reduce prices at the pump ahead of July the 4th. Okay. The Department of Energy said this release is timed to maximize the impact on prices at the pump. The gas will be sold through a competitive bidding process to retailers and terminals, according to the DOE. Gasoline futures have rallied 19% this year as crude oil prices have risen due to OPEC cutting production and fear of wider war in the Middle East. Quote, by strategically releasing this reserve in between Memorial Day and July the 4th, we are ensuring sufficient supply flows to the tri-state region and Northeast at a time hardworking Americans need it the most, unquote. Energy Secretary Jennifer Granholm said in a statement Tuesday. All right, so he's going to release that million barrel, okay, but that's just a patch on a tear, okay? That's just a patch. I think I'm looking for something a little bit more permanent, okay? And I think a lot of you are too, because we know that they'll make up for what they won't be getting this, in prices this winter. They'll raise the price of oil per barrel quite a bit for people that are heating their homes with oil. They'll be making up for it this winter, okay? So we sacrifice the winter so we can have it easier this summer, okay? That's how you should interpret that. And then from let's see here, what do we got? This article here from Manta Kelbolton, okay, the Bulletin. They got a story here. It says $6 plus gas per gallon is coming soon, and Governor Newsom's own words, to achieve world-leading climate goals. Gas slipped down to $4.65 a gallon Monday, and that's this week. At the Manteca Costco, it was the lowest in town, and it's less than the California average of $5.21 a gallon. Still, you might view $4.56 as highway robbery. You might want to calm down and devote some time to stress reduction exercises. That way you can reduce your chances of a heart attack for the triple whammy that will be bludgeoning your pocketbook in the next few months while you fondly remember gasoline selling for what it is now. The California Air Resources Board next month is tightening its low-carbon fuel standard as part of its greenhouse gas reduction strategy. Experts expect that to translate into 54 cents a gallon this year. It will hit 88 cents a gallon in 26, and then $1.01 by 2031. The state gas tax is going up 2 cents a gallon on July 1st. The automatic adjustment for inflation will bring the overall state gas tax to 60 cents a gallon. The CEC, in a few months, plans to slap a penalty on oil companies for an increase not in net profits per se, but for jumps in gross margins. The odds are gas will soar past $6 a gallon and stay there. The CARB ruling is a non-transparent tax. It is collected on oil refineries and isn't broken out for the consumer. The state prefers it that way for obvious reasons. The gas tax hike, in all fairness, is reasonable. The automatic annual adjustment in the gas tax rate reflects increased costs tied to inflation for road construction and maintenance projects the tax is collected to cover. See, it's already happening. Okay, the prices are still going up. Even when Biden releases that $1 million barrels out there, whatever, out of the reserves, when we've used that up, the prices are going to escalate through the roof again. And for California, the new bar is going to be every time you buy gas, it's always going to be over $6 a gallon. Okay, it's always going to be over that now, and so there's no way to stop it. You know, the president can piss out oil till the cows come home, and it ain't going to do a goddamn thing to change what is. And the problem is that people cannot pay what these companies are asking us to pay. All right. This is only forcing more people to go buy these goddamn cars that everybody hates. What do they call? I can't remember what they are. You know, these electric cars. And everybody makes fun of them because they look like shit. Okay, it's like, you know, how can I say? It's like the DeLorean of our time, of this new era here. When a DeLorean first came out, people didn't think too much of it then until they used one of those in fucking Back to the Future movie. Otherwise, I mean, people weren't really interested in buying it. But they got that, the Tesla, I think is what it is. You know, they got that new, this car now, and it looks like something out of a freak show, okay? And everybody makes fun of it, okay? Well, they're going to force more people to go buy this Tesla and whatever kind of vehicle has fewer miles per gallon in order to get from point A to point B. Okay, to do their business. How is this in any way beneficial to oil companies by keeping the prices up so high? You know, I don't know. I mean, yes, I'm a person that believes in taking care of the climate and everything and trying to prolong the inevitable here, but the thing of it is that we're caught between a rock and a hard place, a lot of us. Okay, because we can't afford to pay the high gas prices, okay, it also requires that if we want to get away from it, if we want to free ourselves from that stranglehold, we have to spend even more money to go get a new car that uses less gas. How many of us can really do that right now? You know, how many of us? Some of us, I see driving vehicles on the road look like they're fixing to fall apart as they go. I mean, if they could get a new vehicle, wouldn't they have done that? I mean, so people aren't making enough money to even go buy a brand new vehicle. What they're getting is used cars, and what's used is not fuel efficient, okay? You're not going to find a used Tesla sitting in a fucking, you know, I'm sorry. So it's a situation where we're all trapped, and we're screaming to get out of this goddamn box that they got us locked in, and they won't do it. Instead, they keep squeezing the fucking box while we're in it, trying to force what money we have to put in their pockets. That's not fair. Okay, that is not fair. And I know you're going to say, well, nobody said life is fair. Yeah, that's only because we make it that way. Okay, we're the ones that make life fair or unfair. That's completely up to us. And if we let people do things that make life unfair, then we should say something about it or do something about it. You know, there was a time in this country where people used to do that in their jobs. You know, people that made a name for themselves, like Jimmy Hoffa. Okay, they used to get right into fights with people, the corporate entities, beating each other to a pulp. I mean, it got so bad where they had to go to use violence in order to change things for the better for the workers. You know, I don't see now being any different. Okay, I think, you know, we're coming to the point where it's going to take maybe some muscle to wake some of these fucking people up and say, enough. Okay, you guys have had it your way for too long. For you, there's no limit to how rich you want to be. If you had a goal in mind and you reached it, then we could say you reached your goal, so stop. No, there is no goal. How high is up? You know, there's no answer to that question. How high is up? For them, how rich can they be? There's no answer to that question either. So for them, they're locked in this fucking mode of constantly increasing their wealth. And the more money they make, the more they reward themselves by buying all the riches they want. Okay, so who's gonna turn away money when you've been riding so fucking high for so long? You know, you're not gonna want that. But that's where we're at. These people, we're being led by spoiled people. They've spoiled themselves rotten. You're going to raise your kids, you know, and if people tell you, you know, stop spoiling your kids, stop buying them everything he wants. Well, you know, a lot of these rich people probably got everything they wanted as they grew up, and to them, they're entitled to continuing that practice, even them buying for themselves. Okay, they think they deserve it all. Okay, and they don't care where that money comes from. And when they listen to people bitching about that, they're totally detached. They don't see their actions as being part of their problem. They don't. Now this other story here from The Guardian, written, it was published yesterday. It says corporations are forcing Americans to pay more for less, in their own words. In 2022, the Biden administration and the oil industry were in a brutal fight over oil prices. The president was demanding that domestic oil producers invest and drill more to address spiking costs, but Texas frackers were recalcitrant. Quote, whether it's $150 oil or $200 oil or $100 oil, we're not going to change our growth plans, unquote, the Pioneer CEO Scott Sheffield said, echoing comments from other leaders at different domestic firms. Profits would go to investors, not to more rigs to address pain at the pump. See? The oil barons won the fight. Profits in the oil industry jumped from virtually nothing in 2020 to the hundreds of billions in 2021, and then doubled again in 2022, and yet economists did not see any sort of plot at work. Quote, don't blame the oil companies for their high profits, unquote, said the economist Olivier Blanchard. Quote, it is not price gouging, just how markets work, unquote. 3 weeks ago, the Federal Trade Commission released information showing how naive such statements really were. Sheffield, it turns out, allegedly helped engineer a price-fixing scheme to reduce oil production and increase prices for Americans at the pump. His goal was to end fierce competition in the industry, which had, as he put it, quote, lowered the price by $20 to $30 per barrel over the past 10 years, unquote. The FTC banned Sheffield from his corporation's board and has reportedly referred allegations against Sheffield to the Department of Justice for possible criminal investigation. The magnitude of this alleged plot is stunning. Oil prices are controlled by the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries, OPEC, a cartel composed of nations with known oil reserves. Because OPEC is made up of governments, price-fixing law doesn't apply. But these laws do apply to domestic U.S. firms engaged in shale oil production, who competed fiercely with OPEC from 2014 to 2016 for market share, bringing down prices in the interim. In 2017, tired of this price war, Texas oilmen and OPEC officials began sitting down to dinners, and by 2021, Texas had de facto joined OPEC. Companies like Pioneer, Devon Energy, and Continental Resources publicly pledged to hold back production. As the FTC found, Sheffield was also privately sending hundreds of texts and WhatsApp messages to OPEC officials seeking to align U.S. producers with global cartel. Class action lawyers are on the top of the scandal, but there's also increasing political interest. At a hearing last week, the U.S. Representative Rosa DeLauro and Matt Cartwright began criticizing Big Oil for this scheme, and the Representative Mark Pocan even called for jail time for the oil executives allegedly involved. The top Democrat on the powerful Energy and Commerce Committee, Frank Pallone, just launched a wide-ranging investigation across the industry. The U.S. consumes 7 billion barrels of oil a year, meaning that if the dollar amount went up by $20 to $30, as Sheffield calculated, that's roughly $400 to $700 a person in America, a transfer from consumers to oilmen and their private equity backers. That's not a small amount of what inflation wrought in 2021, which was about $4,700 per capita in increased prices. I suspect the amount is actually more than 20 to 30 a barrel, since price spikes tend to be larger than the average over long periods of time, but we'll leave it at what Sheffield calculated. What is perhaps most shocking about this scandal is not that it happened, but that it happened in plain sight. Oil CEOs weren't hiding. In 2021, as prices rose on the end of COVID lockdowns, Sheffield publicly threatened rivals who might increase production, saying, quote, "All the shareholders that I've talked to said that if anybody goes back to growth, they will punish those companies," unquote. For years, there has been a debate between macroeconomists like Blanchard about the source of post-COVID inflation. Many economists chalked up price hikes to workers demanding more money and saw the way to address it as scaring workers into accepting less money by throwing a bunch of them out of work. Quote, "We need 5 years of unemployment above 5% to contain inflation," unquote, said Larry Summers. That's what their models told them. By contrast, 85% of Americans, along with a few iconoclastic scholars and writers, said, quote, "Corporations begin greedy and raising prices to make record profits," unquote, was the cause of inflation. Why? Well, it might have been because they noticed that CEOs were routinely telling investors that they were raising prices to increase margins, not to meet wage demands. Or it might have been because they experienced large and unexplained price increases in meat, rent, hotels, groceries, and restaurants. Indeed, when the CEO of Wendy's recently said Wendy's was considering using AI to engage in dynamic pricing, the public outrage was palpable. It's time to declare the debate over. In 2021, the total corporate profit increase was $730 billion, over a little over $2,100 a person. That's a large chunk of the inflationary increase in costs. Moreover, the price fixing in the oil industry, which contributed roughly $200 billion of that, isn't an anomaly. Take post-COVID rent hikes. One software and consulting pricing firm for landlords, RealPage, specialized in telling its clients to hike rents more than they otherwise might have. As of December of 2020, RealPage had nearly 32,000 clients, including 10 largest multifamily property management companies in the United States. There are multiple antitrust suits accusing the private equity-owned firm of organizing a massive price-fixing conspiracy to inflate rents across the board. Beyond rent, the Biden administration or private plaintiffs now have credible antitrust claims against firms engaged in price fixing in meat, hotels, and large online sellers like Amazon. Corporations in a range of industries have made comments similar to those of Sheffield. Alex Sinceros, an executive for Red Roof Inn, told a trade outlet that Red Roof Inn was using a software package called STR from CoStar to systematically hike prices across the hotel industry. Quote, "Red Roof's franchisees, for the most part, are making more money with less occupancy," unquote. Hotel News Now explained. Quote, "Red Roof is now providing more data to franchisees to educate and get them comfortable commanding higher rates," unquote. According to a lawsuit, an unnamed executive at Smithfield, a pork processor, summarized the advice he got from AgriStats, a consulting firm that coordinates production in the industry, as, quote, "just raise your price," unquote. Rent, meat, oil, and hotels are big sectors, so criminal activity in the form of price fixing to boost profits should bust through the illusions economists have about how our markets really work. There are also a number of concrete steps policymakers can take to respond to this price fixing. The first is to arrest or sue the offending executives for criminal activity. The second is to strengthen price fixing and merger laws, allow more private class action suits, force judges to speed up cases, and increase the budget of antitrust enforcers to make conclusions more difficult. The third is to reform the Federal Reserve so policymakers can stop using macroeconomic models that avoid considerations of profits and price fixing. And the fourth is frankly political. One key reason there is action on these schemes is because Biden has prioritized antitrust enforcement. He hasn't put enough into antitrust, and he doesn't talk about it very often, but he should, or else Americans are likely to fall into the trap of thinking that what is good for big business is good for their pocketbooks, when the opposite is so often the case. So there you have it. Crooked shit going on, making things expensive for all of us. And, you know, it's a hell of a thing to do to people. The amount of greed behind all that is sickening. And the thing of it is they try to modify that by creating computer systems that allow them to do this even more efficiently. You know, just like with the Israel's using a computer system, Lavender, to help them kill people more efficiently. You know, the moral compass is like right now. All right, so everybody, that's it for today, and I hope you have a great Memorial Weekend holiday here, okay? And please subscribe, comment, share if you want, and you know, keep your ears open for any health-related matters that's going around, and treat each other nice, and be kind. Try to take a breather every once in a while when stress gets too much, and just try to enjoy, you know, what you can of life while we're here in the midst of all this chaos. There's got to be some areas in our towns and our areas that are calm, and you know, whatever that makes you feel good or whatever. Just do whatever it takes. Your mental health at the end of the day is more important, I think, than anything else that's going on in the world. Because if mentally you're sick, then your life is always going to be crap. So I mean, it's just you know, take care of your mental health. It's really important. I'll talk to you all later, so take care. Bye-bye.